In science, we're studying climate change. We wanted to find out how weather has changed in Karluk over the past 40 to 50 years. We're talking to our Aunt Joyce and our Grandma Mary.
How long have you guys lived here?
I've been here all my life, 71 years.
Have you noticed a change in the weather of winters from now to when you were younger? Are they colder or warmer?
It was colder and lots of snow.
Tell them how high.
Huh?
Tell them how high the snow was.
That blue house down there, it was high. It used to come right up to the door. My dad used to make a tunnel out of the house and down the steps. Make it like an igloo. Not, just all the way down the road. And they used to slide from the mountains all the way down to the beach.
Cool.
So much snow we had. And the whole river used to freeze, the whole thing. Used to ice skate, make bonfires.
Yeah, I remember that. Ice skating the whole river with the adults as young as I was, and then they'd have bonfires on the ice.
Well, there hasn't been much snow the past 3 years now.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to see some today.
Are the summers any different?
Oh yeah, really different. I remember I used to, on my birthday, I remember once I think I was 12, when my dad got me a little portable phonograph. He used to take the little 45 records, go outside and listen to music, dance by myself. It used to be hot from the end of April, or the first part of the end of May. No, April.
Yeah,
During
because
that
I
big
remember,
holiday, the 7th.
I remember the Easter egg hunts. There was green grass.
Oh, it was really, really hot during the summers when I was little.
And when I was little, it wasn't hot, but it was rain then during Easter.
Like, how hot is hot? What would you consider hot?
I would guess it must have been about 75 at least. Because now the temperatures here are really different.
Are the salmon runs any different?
Oh yeah, really different. Can't believe the king salmon's having a hard time coming back. But there was some, they were catching some this summer.
They're starting to, the count's starting to come back now.
The reds, still a lot of reds.
I remember when the river used to be full, just the whole river, a whole bunch of humpies jumping during humpy season. The whole river. You don't see that anymore.
Yeah, when I was little, this whole river was plugged with fish. They used to fish off the beach gang, off the spit water, with skiffs before they got the boats. I remember that my dad had the boat called the Auk. He used to fish and bring their fish to Larson Bay. That's where they canned them. There was a lot of humpies too this summer.
This summer? But I just remember being able to see them jumping in the river all over the place.
All the fish jump. Don't see that anymore. They got smart, I guess.
We have 2 runs of reds, the summer and the fall. And once in a while we won't get one of them either. We won't get a good run during the summer. Or else we'd have a good run during the summer and not a good run in the fall. But I think this year we had a good run both times.
Are the animals acting any differently?
Yeah, the foxes never used to really come around. Yesterday we were watching them down on the playground. Come right under the house.
There's a lot of rabbit in between the houses there never used to be. When I was growing up, I remember hearing and seeing ptarmigan all over. Now you don't hardly see them at all. It seems like this year they're starting to come back again, but owls, you don't hear them as often.
What about the bears? I know you mentioned to me something about the bears, right, when you were little.
I don't remember bears being around when I was growing up. I don't remember having to worry about walking out in the dark, or I don't remember there ever being a problem with bears until we moved over to this side, and that's when they started.
Do they hibernate at different times now than they used to?
Yeah.
They don't really hibernate anymore. They get a
Yeah.
whiff of the deer because there's no snow hardly anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and they come back out. They're hunting for the deer. The bear, I remember the last couple of years, the bear have gone out and followed the hunters when they go out hunting for deer, and they trail behind the hunters and they wait for the. Sometimes the hunters couldn't even bring the deer back. They just had to leave it because of the bears.
That was before, or when, or
Just
now?
recently,
Just
last
now.
couple of years, yeah.
Do you think it snows more than when you were younger or less?
Less.
Yeah, way less. We used to be able to play out in the snow all the time. It wasn't so cold to where we couldn't be out, but there was a lot of snow. Now it's just wet. And if there is some snow, it doesn't last long enough for kids to go out and play in it.
Did Karluk get more snow back then?
A lot more. Like I was telling you, I remember that. Everything was white. Barely see the houses.
I have old black and white pictures of all the snow back then. The kids out running around, no jackets on. I mean, it's almost 0 snowing, and the kids are out and they're walking up on the hills. Now, if you went and did it, it just gets soaked because it's just wet snow. The temperature changes real quick. I mean, within 10 minutes, it could be really warm out, and then 10 minutes later, it gets be cold. But it changes throughout the day.
Were there more salmon berries back then or now, or just any kind of
All kinds.
berry?
There was all kinds of lots of blackberries, cranberries, blueberries. After that 64 earthquake, almost
It killed all the
blueberries. There was a bunch back here up on the hill.
blueberries never came back. The cranberries and blackberries did. There are salmon berries, but not as many salmon berries as when I was growing up. Not nearly as much.
Fill 5-gallon bucket in under 10 minutes. Along the Weenix up there, there used to be lots of berries. We had berries this year, though.
Salmon berries, yeah.
Did the river freeze more now or then?
Then this month last year it froze up.
And it only lasted a day. So it was more back then than it is now.
Did you have to deal with so much ice back then like now?
We used to pack ice from the creek and make ice cream. They had an anchor.
I didn't know you could do it
anymore.
from the creek. When you were
Outside somewhere we used to get
yeah,
ice.
but when you guys raised us, we used ice from the beach, the salt, because of the salt, I guess.
Yeah.
So the villages, like all the roads weren't covered with ice like they are sometimes now.
I remember growing up, the hills down in the old villages, they would get icy. And they did here for a period, probably 10 years ago. We had a really bad spurt of icy roads, but it's probably been about 10 years since they were really bad.
And there was a front walk and where all that hill was for Merle's houses. The front part and the back part was all ice. Used to slide on that ice back there.
Oh, that hill down there by Rita's old place? Yeah. The kids used to slide on the ice with plastic bags and cardboard, and they would go dangerously fast.
They need a sled.
And then they had those iron ones. I used to have an iron sled with iron skids. That was even more dangerous. It was fun.
So, is that all the questions? Do you?
Mom brought this up with me. Why is it back then people were able to bring fishing boats in the river, but not now?
There was one year before we got drifted in. And went right out there fishing too close to the river where it comes in. It got pulled in all the way out the Seine.
I think a lot of it has to do with the tides. It has to be a pretty big, at least a 10-foot tide for a boat to come in. But with the tides, you also need calm weather, because you guys seen old pictures of the way the mouth used to be. Well, there's that big hook in it now. So you have to have the big enough tides and calm weather for the boat to get in. It can be done, but the weather has to be ideal for it to happen.
What was the mouth like before? I don't know.
The mouth used to go down below the old village, and that lagoon that's below the church, the mouth used to go out that way. The last couple of storms we've had just this past month have washed up over
Into
the mouth into the pond. It's not pushing out the opposite end yet, but it's going up and in pretty easily.
Question.
Sure.
Is there more or less or the same variety of salmon in the salmon runs now or back then?
Oh, back then there was millions and millions of fish.
Of every kind? Every kind of salmon?
Every kind of salmon.
Do you?
I also have a question.
Sure.
Back then, did everyone catch a lot more halibut than they did now?
I don't even remember how.
Yeah, there doesn't used to catch them every time they went out. They wouldn't have having a hard time.
And when they do catch them now, they're catching them right outside the mouths, and we never used to be able to get them that close. Yeah.
There's crab. They used to get good crab pots out there too.
Down in Tanglefoot, I remember growing up eating king crab out on the deck. They would cook them out on the camp stove. But I was probably 10 years old then, and I remember that. But it hasn't happened since then, and I think a lot of it has to do with the draggers that are out here. And they're dredging up the bottom.
The sea urchins. There's hardly any of those.
Oh, you used to get them.
The poking.
Yeah.
I also have another question. Back then, did they collect more or less Ptarki than now?
Oh, more.
Yeah. We still collect them now, and those ones aren't actually hard to get. There's still a lot of those, maybe not quite as much as back then.
Yeah, but they're smaller.
Yeah, well, that's because I've noticed that the birds are eating a lot of the sea urchins, because I find the shells all over on the spit,
Oh, really?
so the birds are eating them. But we also have a lot more seal now than we used to, and the seal used to be down closer to the mouth, but now the seal are coming up down below the village, but they're chasing the fish. The fish don't mill around in the lagoon anymore, they go straight through, so it makes it harder for us to sports fish when we're just sports fishing.
I have another question.
Sure.
Are the winds more common in today or were they more common back then?
Are the what? Red?
No,
you say?
winds.
The winds.
Oh, winds. Yeah, was the wind?
I think we have more wind now than when I was growing up. I don't know about you. A lot more wind.
Yeah, and I'd say the end of March. When I was little, it used to be warm from there till almost like the end of October.
Wow.
And we're ocean full of boats fishing. Used to sit on the hill down there and watch them fish.
I have a lot of the old pictures where they show the boats outside here fishing, the old boats and the canneries on the outside. All the pictures I've seen the weather was pretty calm in the ocean. And I don't think they were taking the pictures just because the weather was okay. They were taking pictures because of the seiners and the fishermen on the beach. But now it's just the weather on the outside is so different. And it changes really quick compared to when I was growing up.
It's a lot different.
It pretty much proves or shows what we've been studying, hasn't it? Yeah.
We have a lot more erosion too with all the rain that we've had the last couple of winters, 3 winters. We've had a lot of rain, so there's a lot more erosion. It makes the water in the river really muddy when we have the high winds and the high tides.
And I also have another question regarding rain. Has there been more or less rain since back then?
I think more during my time.
I know, Kodiak still gets more than we do.
Yeah.
Well, you want to say thanks?
Thank you for coming up and
Yeah.
talking to us.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Well, we did climate, now maybe you guys can focus on another one. We just
I'm
gotta
glad you
record
called, I
everything.
forgot about it.
Okay.